People get a little iffy when you say a Christian movie sucks, but I don't mind being that person. This one kind of sucked. So I just saw The Firing Squad, directed by Timothy Shea, stars James Barrington, Kevin Sorbo, Cuba Gooding Jr. Let's talk about it. So this is loosely based on a true story. The true story is about three dudes who were in Kerobokan prison in Indonesia. They were on death row and they were Christians. Peter and his friend Morgan are running the devil's snow all over the world, and then they get caught in Indonesia. Unfortunately for them, the worst crime that you can commit in Indonesia apparently is the dealing and running of drugs, which carries a death sentence, so now they're on death row. We follow Peter to Kerobokan prison in Indonesia, where he is on death row, and that's where he meets Samuel, played by Cuba Gooding Jr., and a pastor, played by Kevin Sorbo. And it's all about how he comes to know Christ while in prison, awaiting his death sentence. Sounds sweet, right? Yes, very, I would say, basic Christian story. This is no different plot-wise than what we have seen before in your basic Christian film about, someone who is far from God, meets the Lord, and then you see the transformation that comes from that. Very basic. We're not reinventing the wheel. Same old, same old. Another thing that's same old here is just the execution. This is the biggest problem that I have with Christian films, is that you have message heavy, low quality. I don't understand why Kevin Sorbo, who has made a name for himself in Christian cinema and has put out or been part of some quality Christian films. And then you have Cuba Gooding Jr., who is just highly acclaimed, incredibly talented. I don't understand how they could produce or be part of something so low quality. I mean, the production was just crap. So many audio issues, my goodness. So this movie starts off with a voiceover, and I didn't realize it was a voiceover. I thought, because we were hearing scattered audio of news reporters talking about these three men on death row, and then all of a sudden we hear this other voice come in, and it took me a minute to realize, oh, this is a voiceover. Like, the audio levels were too low, it was too quiet, and it was like that up until we get to the prison part. And then there was one part where you could tell there were mic issues, like you could hear the mic issues. The acting was terrible, minus Kevin Sorbo and Cuba Gooding Jr., who really carried this film emotionally. Our lead, James Barrington, I'm going to show him a little grace. I think this is his first movie, but we are Christians. We represent the King of Kings. We represent the Ancient of Days, the first, the last, the beginning and the end, the Alpha and the Omega, like the one, that him, Jesus, like that is whom we represent. That is who has adopted us into his heavenly family. And I don't understand why you have so many Christians who are like, we're not going to go above and beyond and do anything too flashy or crazy. He died on a cross. You can't get any more flashy than that. I mean, not only just did he die on a cross, but he died because he said so. Part of the issue with Cain and Abel wasn't just, Cain's attitude, but it was the fact that Abel gave God his first and his best, and then Cain kind of gave him something less than and kept the best for himself. That was part of the problem, and that's what I feel like Christian cinema does. Instead of giving them their best and their greatest, they give something just good enough and then use the excuse, oh, well, we're separate from the rest of Hollywood. Clearly! I studied film in college, okay? I saw student films that were produced better than this. Forgive me while I rant, but I'm sick to death of Christian films downplaying that moment of conversion where they make it seem so simple and so easy. Like, one minute you're just angry at the world and hateful, and then someone hands you a Bible, you read it, and all of a sudden you just get it, and you just have this moment where you fall to your knees and you cry, and it's like, ugh, now I'm gonna pastor small children in a field of goats or whatever. No, that's how children get saved. When children get saved, it's that simple. But for adults who've been so far from God their entire lives, you're talking about a man who was an atheist and didn't believe in God at all and found himself in prison on death row, absolutely nothing. He has nothing to lose. He's at his wit's end. He's at the emptiest of empty. Do not look me in the face and tell me that his conversion was that easy. It's a process. And I really wish Christian films would be honest about that process. It sends a really weird message that when you encounter the word of God for the first time, it should be like that. No, homie, it took 9 months for me to come to Christ. And I was 18 and a freshman in college. Not quite death row, but it was hot outside. I just need Christian films to stop being so sugary sweet and just be real. I mean, we're talking about men on death row in a foreign country. Like, you don't have to play nice here. You can be real and you can be honest. It's okay. So yeah, poorly executed, low quality. In terms of the message, again, it's very simple, very basic, darkness to light kind of message, salvation message. No matter where you are, or where you've been, or how much time you have, you can always come to Jesus. Very simple message, right? And these movies tend to execute or present those messages very well because that's where so much of their focus is making sure that you hear the message, and they don't really care how they show the message. Does that make sense? So there were definitely moments of this movie that were beautiful and sweet, and I definitely cried. I mean, you have men walking to their death, dying by firing squad. Like, it's heartbreaking to watch. But I felt like they copped out a little bit. They shied away from just the reality of the situation and trying to make it seem so much lighter than it actually was. I mean, we got to be, some people, they meet Christ in the darkest of places, and in order to really show those dark places, you got to show it without the light on. I need Christian filmmakers to stop shying away from the reality of what it looks like when you come to Christ. It's not always pretty. So I mean, it does what it does. It is what you expect it to be. It's just typical quality low, message heavy Christian cinema. And I'm honestly kind of sick of it.